Hi everyone! Today I am going to be making some beautiful soft bao buns using purple yam flour. This is available from a brand called Finch. You can order directly from them at finch.lk or you can find it at your local supermarket. I'm sure many of you are wondering what purple yam flour is. Well, it's very similar to our local sweet potatoes, but this of course is purple in color. So I have some right here, as you can see. It is a beautiful purple and it is so nice and fine. Purple yam flour does have a sweet nutty flavor and it is packed full of vitamins, minerals and antioxidants. It is primarily used in baking, but today we are going to use it in our steamed buns. So let's get started. Okay, so we're going to need a few simple ingredients to start off with. We have 2 cups of plain flour, 3/4 of a cup of the purple yam flour, 2.5 tablespoons of milk powder, 2.5 tablespoons of sugar, 1/4 cup of oil, 1 1/8 of a teaspoon of instant yeast, 1 teaspoon of baking powder, and we have a cup of warm water here. So I'm just going to stick my thermometer in here. You're going to have a look here. The temperature of the water should be anywhere between 105 to 115. If you do not have a thermometer, don't worry about it. You can just stick your finger in here and it should be nice and warm, not too hot, because if it is too hot, it will kill the yeast, okay? Okay, so we're going to get started by sifting together the plain flour and the purple yam flour. So let's get our plain flour in here and our purple yam flour. Okay, so the reason that we're sifting it, because we want to get these little grains out of our dough. We don't want those little grains in our dough. Okay, so now we've got that flour sifted beautifully. I'm going to go ahead and add in the rest of my dry ingredients. So we're going to add in the milk powder, the sugar, the instant yeast, and the baking powder. Okay, I'm going to give that a nice mix here with my wooden spoon. Okay, so I'm going to make a well in the center here so that we can pour in our wet ingredients. Okay, we're going to start off by pouring in our water and our oil. Okay, now slowly from the center, just go ahead and start to stir and your dough will start coming together. Okay, so now what I'm going to do is I'm going to put the spoon down and I'm going to get my hands in there. Okay, now I'm going to get my hands in here and we are going to gather all of the dough into a nice ball. Okay, the dough will be slightly sticky. Don't worry about it because we have to knead this dough for a good 10 minutes. So I'm just going to try and get it all into one big ball. Okay, and there we have it. Okay, now I'm going to put it onto my countertop here. I'm going to take some flour, put it all around underneath here. Okay. And now we are going to knead this dough. Okay, we're going to knead it for about 10 minutes. Okay, so let's get started with that. Okay, so I'm going to use the palms of my hands here to beautifully knead this dough. Okay, we're just going to get in there. And if the dough starts sticking to your surface, just sprinkle a little bit more flour and just keep on going. And if one arm gets tired, you can switch to the other one. Okay, and it's sticking slightly, so I'm going to put a little bit more flour. So the reason that we are doing this is to get the dough nice and soft and pliable, and also to help it rise, because we do need to proof this dough for 90 minutes. Okay, so I have now been kneading my dough for about 7 minutes. It's getting there. It is still slightly sticking to the counter. So I'm just gonna add a little bit more flour. You can just keep adding flour as you go along if it is sticking. Okay, I have about another 3 minutes more. But the dough is beginning to look beautiful, and more importantly, it feels nice and soft. Okay, my dough has now been kneading for about 10 minutes. This really is a labor of love, so take your time and get in there. Okay, if you do have a mixer with a dough hook, you can most certainly go ahead and put the dough into the mixer, and it will have to mix for about 5 minutes. Okay. So you can have a look at the dough here. And when I press down with my fingers, see how it springs back up? That means it's ready. Okay, so now we need to proof the dough for 90 minutes. So I'm going to put it here into this bowl, and I am going to cover it with a tea towel. And I'm actually just going to put it into my oven. My oven is not turned on, but it's a nice warm place, so that way the dough can rise. So while the dough is proofing, we're going to get started on our filling. So I have decided to go with a beautiful sweet and salty chicken. Okay, so let's get started with the filling. Okay, so I have my pan nicely heating up. I'm just going to add in a little bit of olive oil. Get that going. Okay, I have 6 chicken thighs here that I've taken the skin off and deboned and cut into pieces. So let's pop that in. Okay, I'm not going to stir it, I'm just going to leave it like that until it gets golden brown, then we're going to flip it over to the other side. I'm just going to sprinkle some pepper on top. I'm not going to add any salt because we are going to add soy sauce to this, so we can add in the salt at the end once we've tasted it. Okay, now I'm going to just flip these over. Okay, that looks really good. So what I'm going to do now is I'm going to add my soy sauce. And a little bit of kithul pani. And we're just going to let that cook down until the sauce becomes nice and thick and it coats all the chicken. So the sauce is beginning to thicken up, as you can see here. Just another 1 or 2 more minutes so it gets a little more thicker and starts to coat the chicken. Okay, so my chicken is coming together nicely. We don't want there to be too much sauce, otherwise when we put it into the bao buns, the buns will become soggy. So that looks great, so I'm just going to switch it off and just let it cool. So we're going to get a few more ingredients together to add into the bao buns to finish them off. So I need to get some carrots julienne. So you can just get yourself a nice carrot peeled and then just slice it. Okay. And then we're just going to very finely julienne. You don't want any big pieces because they will jump out when you're taking a bite. There we go, we have our carrots. and I'm going to slice this beautiful onion, okay, for a little bit of freshness. Okay, so we also need a little bit of a spicy mayonnaise to go onto our bao buns. So I'm going to start off with a little bit of the Kewpie Japanese mayonnaise. You can just give that a nice squeeze in there. Okay, and I'm going to be using some hot sauce here. I'm using Sriracha. You can use whatever you like, and you can get it as spicy as you want. Okay, let's get that mixed in nicely. Okay, you can give it a taste, and if you want it spicier, you can add more of the hot sauce. Okay, that looks great, so we're ready. Okay, so it has been 90 minutes. Let's have a look at the dough. Okay, as you can see, it has doubled in size, so now it is ready for us. Okay, so I'm going to punch down the dough very slightly to get all the air out. And then let's take it out. Oh, look at that. It looks so good. Okay, so now I'm going to flour my surface here, and we're going to roll this out. I'm also just going to flour my rolling pin here. Okay, that looks great. Okay, so I'm rolling this out. The dough has to be about 1/4 inch thick, and that actually looks perfect. Okay, so what I'm going to do now is I'm going to take a little bit of oil, and we're going to brush it on the dough. This is when we cut out the shape for the bao buns. We have to fold them in half, so the oil will help to stop it from sticking, because if it sticks together and once you steam it, you will not be able to open it out. Okay, so I also have a few pieces of parchment paper that I have cut up into 3 inches by 3 inches. And this is what I'm going to use to cut out my circles. It's glass, and it is about 3 inches in diameter. That already popped out. Okay, I'm just going to pull off the balance of the dough here. Okay, and we are then just going to take these beautiful buns, and we're just going to fold them in half. Okay. And now I'm going to take this parchment paper, and we're going to pop each one on a piece of parchment paper. So now I'm going to get my small rolling pin here, and I'm just going to press down, and I'm just going to roll each of the bao buns so they end up looking like that. Just ever so gently. And this is what gives that beautiful shape of the bao bun. Okay, and I'm just going to cover this with a tea towel to stop it from drying out until we get the water ready. Now I've got my water ready for steaming the buns. So it's boiling up nicely. And what I did was I took my steamer and I put in a little rack here. I'm going to insert that in. And I took a tea towel and I covered up my lid so that any water that forms are not going to fall onto the buns. Okay, so now I'm going to get some of the buns. into my steamer. Okay, we don't want to overcrowd them, so I'm only going to put in 5 into my steamer. If you do have the ones where you can put another rack on top, then you most certainly can go ahead and put in that rack and add in more buns. Okay, I'm going to put in my last one there into the center. See, they have a lot of space. So now let's take this over. Pop that on top. I'm going to put the lid on. And we're going to steam for 10 minutes. Okay, don't try this at home. I do have asbestos hands. Please use a pair of tongs, otherwise you will burn yourself. Okay, I'm just going to take one of these beautiful buns. We're going to slightly open it up. Put some of that beautiful Sriracha mayo on there. A few pieces of this chicken. Okay, and some carrots. A little bit of onion. And top it off with some cilantro for that delicious freshness. Oh guys, look, have a look at that. I'm just gonna pop it right here. I can't wait to take a bite of this. That is so good. The bun is delicious. It's soft with the chicken and the freshness of the cilantro. This is definitely a winner. I hope you guys try it out. I'm going to take another bite.